Yo, Nubs, what is going on? It's Arcturus here from Call of Dragons, and this is my very first YouTube video. I thought after 3 years, it's about time that I give it a go. So here I am, and let's see what happens. If there's enough interest and enough people like what I do, then I might make a few more of these. So please comment down below and let me know what you think, and let me know if you have some ideas or if you think it's interesting. So here we go. So I'll jump straight in and just give a little bit of an introduction about myself. I'm Arcturus. I've been playing Call of Dragons since launch, so about 3 years now, and I really enjoy the game. It's really good. I've always enjoyed kingdom building games and strategy building games, and it all began when I was just a kid. And after school, I'd go meet up with my buddy. He had a PC, and on there he had Warcraft 1. So it all began back in about 1995 with that game. Moving on, as I grew older, I started to get into other games, and I found these browser-based kingdom building games back in about year 2000. There were two games. There was a science fiction game called Star Kingdoms, and then a fantasy game called Utopia. Very similar to Call of Dragons in the sense that you've got your own city, and you build buildings and gather resources and train troops and research technology. But yeah, all 25 years ago, and all text-based in your internet browser. Yeah, I played those games for about 5 years. I always loved the just diplomacy aspect and the people skills. Also around that era, I really got into my StarCraft and my Brood War, so I played those all through high school from about the year 2000 until 2005 or 2006. And then after that, I decided to take a bit of a break. Yeah, so I went and I kept on doing my studies, went to university, focused on my family, that kind of thing, and didn't really play anything for until about 2018, when I had a little bit of time on my hands and thought I'd go through the App Store and see if there's any good mobile games. I've never played any mobile games before, and at least not seriously, just these little silly games that you find now and then, and ended up finding this cool game by an indie company. It was called Hades Star. I do enjoy my sci-fi, but anyway, that's a good kingdom building game. Shout out to the developer of that, Andreas Papasthagnasis. Really good game. If you haven't heard of it before, I suggest you check it out. So I played that for about 4.5 years, and eventually I reached the end game, and there just wasn't really much content left for me. So I started looking for other games, and that's when I found Call of Dragons. And yeah, I was really surprised. I probably looked at about 15 or 20 other games, thinking about what I wanted to play next. And they're all these heavy pay-to-win, copy-paste, reskin type things. And I was expecting the very same when I loaded up Call of Dragons for the first time, but really surprised when I saw the amount of control you had over your units and your ability to micro them and utilize different skills and artifacts. It really hooked me. But yeah, that's how I got into Call of Dragons in the first place. I started up the game and I began in Server 100. Now, Server 100 had a little bit of drama. That server was populated at first by an Indonesian group, and one of the top guys in that group ran his own website, and you could log in there and you could purchase top-up for a bit of a discount over what the Call of Dragons store was offering. And then the next day you put in your details and the guy would log into your account and he would he would buy the bundles for you and then log out of your account and go on his merry way. Yeah, a lot of people were tempted by that, fools as they were. Obviously, you don't get these things for free. Either they were getting scammed or other people were getting scammed. And yeah, most of the server caught on to this pretty early and thought, these guys are up to no good. We better do something about it. So that's what I was busy with in my first season of Call of Dragons, was trying to make sure that these guys don't get into power. So I started out in an alliance called Dark Forces in Server 100 in Zoland, and started fighting with this Indonesian group. We fought pretty hard, but obviously we're all new to the game. We've never played before. We pretty much got our asses kicked. But the leaders of our team had been in contact with other leaders of the server and were ready to make some alliances and try and build up our level of resistance so that we could win the season. We all resurged out of Zoland into Sofrostia and gathered our troops there, waiting for the pass to open, and then from there we pushed north. I forget the name of the region there, north of Sofrostia, and fought the Indonesians there, and had some success, but eventually got pushed back into Sofrostia, and we realized that we were losing that war. So we left that alliance and joined an alliance that was in Kaltia, another strong group that was looked like they had a serious chance of resisting these people. So when Hollandale finally opened, we had the main war with the Indonesian group again, and again we weren't successful. So there was a bridge there, a very important bridge, and we just couldn't hold it. So the Indonesians, after that, they ended up winning that season. They won the dragon, and of course everyone who's strong and powerful wants to be part of that alliance. Yeah, our resistance group pretty much gave in at that stage. I was too small. So we'll give a little bit of background. I'm a lower spending player. I've always been part of the elf faction. Always been interested in my cavalry, and that's when I started to get into. So I began as a mage main and an archer main, but I quickly realized from these wars that I was absolutely getting obliterated by these T5s, and I decided, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go cavalry and make sure that I can retreat if I see that I'm in a bad fight, and go fight someone else who's my own size. So that's why I became a cavalry main. Anyway, I was too small, not a big enough spender to get a position in the main alliance, so I chilled in Hollandale for a long time. The rest of the people in my alliance, we all tried to claim the Magma Demon and weren't really succeeding with that. And it got to a point where we realized that no matter what we did, we weren't going to beat that thing. A lot of people in our group started to talk about merging with other people and seeing what we could do. And there was one strong group left, and that group was an alliance called Phoenix Tears. And they were led by a guy called Napo, who's probably going to be in a few of my videos. He's a crazy French guy. Let's just leave it at that. Anyway, merged with them, didn't really trust Napo, didn't really know what to expect from him, but joined him, and I think we succeeded. We ended up getting one or two of the Magma Demons, and we were doing pretty successful. And then I don't know what happened, but the Indonesian group, oh, that's right. So what happened was Napo blocked the bear. Napo blocked the bear. And as this Indonesian alliance was trying to get at one of these dire bears in Hollandale, I think it was, Napo used his troops and just decided, I'll block the bear. And And anyway, they ended up killing his troops, and a few nasty words were exchanged in Tamara's chat, and war started. We thought we were in a pretty strong position. We thought that maybe we could convert some of the people that we'd lost to come back to our side and get back to fighting. And so we fought really hard and didn't succeed in Hollandale. Once Hollandale fell, we got pushed back into Sophrostia, and we all gathered around the magma demon there and just clung on to dear life. And that's when I really, because in my heart I felt, help these guys out, but at the end of the season I'll probably transfer over to the main alliance in the Dragon Zone and try and get some rewards, but I'll help these guys out. But it was really that war and spending a little bit of time fighting with Napo and fighting with the other guys in that alliance that made me really appreciate the mentality and the camaraderie and the strong sense of morality in that group. Yeah, that's when I got completely converted to that group, and I was with Phoenix Tears for the longest time. I'll tell a little bit more about my history and where it's gone. So Phoenix Tears ended up aligning with the Indonesian group at the end of season 1, and we won season 1+ quite respectfully. And then the next season after that, we also succeeded, but it ended up with a stalemate. So there was a stalemate at the Dragon Plateau. The enemy was LV. They were on the plateau, and we were on the low ground, and we were just locked at the ramp there, trying to fight through barricades and get a clear winner. And I don't think either side could really win at that stage. We were having a lot of fights, but it was tough. And what ended up happening was, as large alliances do and pay-to-win players do, they decided, what are we fighting each other for and wasting this time for? Why don't we just ally together and claim this dragon, and we'll leave everyone else behind. So that's what happened. Again, I got left behind, and our alliance got left behind, and we decided, well, we'll make the most of this, and we'll merge with. So we found another group called Organized Chaos. They were in server 93. So we left server 100 and joined server 93 to be with them. High hopes. So Organized Chaos and Phoenix Tears were both pretty equal alliances, and we didn't feel like there was any worry there of them stealing our players or us stealing their players. It was just going to be a very equal relationship together. So we started off well and got into Zone 2, got into some Zone 2 fights. Yeah, did pretty well. Had some good PvP, but ended up not winning that zone. Anyway, there'd been some tensions up until then over farm alliances and over villages and that kind of thing. And without going into details, there ended up being a bit of a disagreement there, and it ended up with a civil war. Their group, I think, felt that they had the majority of players on their side, and that therefore they were naturally the ones who should be in charge, and our group shouldn't really have a say in that. And it ended up with their alliance leader saying, Napo, you've got to step down. There's no other choice. You've got to step down. You've got to pass the leadership on to someone else who I can trust and I can manage. And you've got no other choice. And so we got together and we said to ourselves, what are we going to do? And we all agreed. We like Napo. We like our leader. We're going to keep him in charge, and we're going to fight for our right to remain autonomous. So we fought them. Anyway, we ended up losing. We ended up losing that war, and we got banished to Carantes Island, the Kings of Carantes. So yeah, we ended up there and spent the season there. At the end of it, Organized Chaos decided they'd leave us with Server 93. We'd lost that fight, but we were in high hope still because we now had a server to our own and we could manage it ourselves and didn't have to worry about too many other groups telling us what to do. So we recruited some new players from some other groups, a group called CFM, and started the next season again with high hopes. In a similar pattern, Zone 2, the war began, and once it had all been done and dusted, again, we weren't on top. And that's when cracks began to show in our alliance and within these groups. So what ended up happening there was CFN made a deal with CMAR to basically interrupt us and prevent us from contributing to the Dragon fight. They started a civil war with us in Zone 1 and in Zone 2. And yeah, they had some pretty strong players, some strong T5s and that kind of thing. We, again, just couldn't stand our ground. So for the second time in a row, we ended up on Krantez Island. Fuck. Yeah, our team lost a lot of morale from that. It hit us pretty hard. We probably lost 10 or 15 of our strong guys. They ended up moving on to other alliances, and we gave up our hopes and dreams of having a kingdom and an alliance to ourselves. But that wasn't too bad because we ended up finding another group called Iron-Blooded Orphans in Server 12. So the remainder of Phoenix Tiers, we teamed up with them and we jumped over to Server 12. This was just before the Kingdoms patch, and got to Server 12, and the leader of that group was a guy called Krollo, very mild and very considerate of lower level players. He was a pay-to-win player himself, but he had a bit of a soft spot for these low-level players. And we joined him, and our first season was quite successful. I don't think we won, but had some very good fights, and didn't get zone locked or anything, so continuous PvP was quite good. But unfortunately, Orga needed to step down, so he had a few things go on in his life and couldn't play the game anymore. So he passed the leadership on to another guy, another equally good character named Krollo. And Krollo, we had another season together. So at the end of that, so when the rest of the leadership found out that Orga was stepping down, created a lot of doubt on how our server was, or how our kingdom was going to function after that. There was a bit of a clash there. Some of the stronger players and the better organizers, they were pushing pretty heavily to cull the dead weight within our team, but that wasn't really our mentality. We called ourselves the Iron-Blooded Orphans for a reason. We were the kingdom that was, the goal there was to unite all these free-to-play players and give them a home. And I think that was our mentality and that was our philosophy. And to kick people just because they don't spend enough money to rank in the top 100 or the top 150 was unfair. That element of the group, they saw that the majority wasn't really interested in culling people, so they ended up leaving. As a bit of as these splits are, they're never an easy thing. Lost some good players in that, but the next season we had high levels of hope again, always hope, and I can't really recall what happened with our seasons. We just found, I think, that the attrition of players just kept on happening, and people were beginning to approach their T5, and at that stage migration was very expensive, so if you were going to join a group, you wanted to make sure that it was going to be a strong group that would see you through for many seasons. And I think people began to doubt that and began to mature and reach that point where they wanted to be part of the strongest alliance they could. We kept on losing players, and I ended up getting so angry at Napo because Napo ended up announcing that he was going to take everyone we had and leave the server, and we all needed to get out and we all needed to migrate. But I just didn't have it in me anymore to keep on moving. I really just wanted to have a home and have a stable place that I could farm and get strong and do my thing. And so here's one of my best friends saying that we've got to leave, and I couldn't do that. I didn't feel it was in my best interest. So he ended up leaving, and I got so angry. The rest of the group, so at that stage, we've had this war in the Middle East, and our king Krollo, he's in Lebanon, and he just couldn't be online anymore. Like, he's just trying to survive, and the leadership within that group, there was a lot of changes, and again, this question of kicking dead weight got into the equation, and there was another group, another alliance within Server 12 called IBN. So IBO was the main alliance, and IBN was the secondary alliance led by mainly American people. And they got accused of being dead weight and not being good communicators and being a waste of space. And so they also got dissuaded from staying within the servers. Napo's group, they disappeared off to Pot C number 31, and IBN, they ended up leaving as well. So Server 12 pretty much in one fell swoop became a dead kingdom. And at that stage, I just lost a lot of my desire to play this game anymore. I was just not into it anymore. Losing again and again, not having an ability to control the situation or manage things in a controlled way. So I pretty much put my account on care and maintenance and went to play Age of Empires. Age of Empires was good. The first season was enjoyable. I started my own alliance and led that alliance, so we ended up getting to rank number 3. So I'm pretty proud of that. Iron-Blooded Phoenix in server 62, I think it was. So yeah, had a good time, but realized at the end of that it's not as high a quality game as Call of Dragons. The KVK system's not appealing. Lack of ranged units, lack of artifacts and diversity in your strategies. It had a lot of good things going for it, but at the end of the day, I decided it wasn't the game for me. So what am I going to do? I decided I want to return to Call of Dragons, but I've lost all my friends. My alliance is in shambles. I don't like the new leadership that's in my kingdom. What am I going to do? So I disappeared. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I changed my name. I found a strong Korean alliance named Sir Immune in server 219, and being in Australia, I wanted to be part of an alliance in my time zone, so I joined them. I snuck out of server 12, changed my name, and I became a Korean. And it was great. It was great. That team is very strong. So they've got a good connection with NTS. And if you know anything about NTS, you know that they're a very well-coordinated PvP team. So same with them. And oh my God, I had some very good seasons with them. I think 4 seasons, and we won 2 of them. And they fight like crazy. They just fight and fight and fight. I think I've always been a pretty good merit earner, even though I'm a T4. Always sort of 10% merits, 15% merits, but these guys were getting like 20% merits. It was just nuts. They just fight like crazy. So yeah, big big regards for them. But in the end, they ended up deciding to merge with NTS because, again, they were losing players, and the leader of MM was getting tired of being in charge of everything and wanted to share the load with a few people. Ended up disbanding, and yeah, out of the blue. So everyone in Phoenix Tears and all my friends, they all thought that I quit the game. I told them that I quit the game. I didn't want to deal with politics anymore and leadership, so I stopped. But Napo actually found out that I was still on the Call of Dragons Discord under a different name, being a troll, posting memes, being a dick, and he figured out it was me, and I was like, all right, I've been planning this for a long time. And I was mad, but I want to go back to my family one day because they are good guys. The Phoenix Tears guys, they're top, and I miss them. They're my family. And so Napo discovered what I'd done, and that I was still playing. And I told him that I was still his buddy and still his friend, and that if an opportunity arose to join him again, that I would. And so MM was going to merge with NTS, and I decided that I was going to fight as hard as I possibly could and earn a spot in NTS because I want to be a top fighter. And this past season I got 13 million merits on a 78 million power account, but even that was not enough to get a place. So this season I'm rejoining my old family. I'm going to SCL Alliance in server 444, and we're going to kick some ass. Our team, we've all reached T5 finally. Not me. I'm the only T4 player left after nearly 900 days and still T4. Fucking nub. That's why I'm such a nub. But anyway, look, I think that's enough. I think I'll start wrapping it up now. But yeah, let me know if you think that you want to hear more. You want to hear me ramble on about my stories. So the plan is I want to do content based on stories. I want to do content based on PvP. I want to do content based on memes. I love my memes. I'm a meme guy. Probably post a few videos on those and plenty of shorts. I think I'll do shorts with memes and have a lot of fun. So yeah, if you'd like to join, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and like this video, and yeah, let's go from there. All right, guys. Long live the nubs. Never give up. Always fight. Rah.